Hello everyone, this is Judith with another video. Yeah, and I want to share a little bit with you and maybe this is you as well, right? In relation to what we are going through, like in cycles, right? For every one of us, this going back and cycling in the same old things and recreating the same old things on our twin flame journeys. But even before that, right, I'm talking now about the lifespan, about your lifespan. This might be shorter or longer depending on how old you are, right? But still, most of the things that are like uncomfortable for us, they have the root in childhood, right? And this is something, as you know, where I can help you. I can help you like see certain things that might be still hidden from you, and I can also help you to go back there and to heal those things, to transform the energies, right? We're working on an energetic level. Yeah, and that's important for us twin flames. That's the so-called shadow work, right? And whatever technique you are using, and whatever teachings you follow, it really doesn't matter, but as long as you do the work. And what I have for you might be a fit if you have experienced challenges along your early years and even before that in the womb. And this is what I wanted to point out to you today, because what I was like feeling time and again in my life was that I was deeply shocked, as if someone was pulling the rug underneath my feet, and I was completely shattered. And it's a specific flavor of shock that I've experienced over and over again. And when it came, I could maybe it was not always the way that I was shocked. There were events really that were shocking, that were pulling the rug underneath my feet, but there were also other circumstances where I was feeling that fear of this shock like coming at me, and this also was like kind of paralyzing. And finally, what I had to do is I had to go back to something that happened when I was in my mother's womb. And this was my mother finding out that she was pregnant, and this was a disaster, right? My mother did not really tell me about what happened, but I could tell by the specific flavor of shock that I am experiencing, or that I have been experiencing over and over again. By this, I could tell what was going on, right? It was a shock for her, and it was not only was it a shock for her, but she was like, as with her pregnancy, then also rejected, right? And also harshly like maybe blamed by my father, or he was acting out in some way, and this was not welcome. But more than not welcome, it was more than uncomfortable. It was like a harsh and shocking rejection, right, of my vitality, of me being here. And what do you feel when you are so tiny, like in the womb? You feel like everything is like around you, life is around you, and you are this being of love that is coming in, right? And then, so that's who you really are when you come in. And then some people say, well, to feel good, you have to go back to your childhood. But those of us who have experienced those adversities in the womb, it doesn't really help to go back to childhood. We have to go even further back, right? So what I had first of all to work, just to give you a picture, I had to work on this feeling of shock, right? I had to find out where does it come from. And then, of course, there were different flavors, different circumstances, several things like contributing to this ongoing cycle. And of course, then eventually I found out about this shock, right? It's always in layers. All of those things come in layers because we create on top of that. But then we have to peel the onion, right, and get to the core of the issue. So I managed to release this energy of the shock. I managed to unlearn what I had learned way back. And this was basically something that I have learned in relation to what vitality, I already said vitality, because this is really like what I was perceiving vitality to be. So not even like love of life or love of self, but something very profound. And this is vitality, right? And it might also be love of life, and might also be love of self and things like that. Those early experiences that we have in life, those early impressions that we have, what life is and what matters, right? Yeah, and so you already come in damaged then, and there's no blaming, right? There's no blaming. It's nobody's fault. But just to say that that when we imagine ourselves like before conception, and we are those pure beings of love and light, and the moment we come in, already we forget about this, right? We have amnesia. we do not really remember who we are, and we have to rediscover this. And when those traumatic experiences occur very early on, then it doesn't really help. Of course, it helps to like do inner child work and all those things like the shadow work, but we really have to be able to pinpoint like where did it all start in order to shift our experience. And why? Because this is a block to our twin flame union, right? We would always repel our divine counterpart when we are still like holding this energy of shock, right? Or we still have those belief systems around what vitality is, what life itself is, what the purpose of life is, what peace is, what love is, what love of self is, what love of life is. And of course, many, many other things, right? But this is where it all this is like the essence. And if we have learned certain things that are not serving us, then those are blocks. Those things are blocks. Why? Because, as you probably know, our divine counterpart is triggering this within us. Why? Because when you are like, when I am like on my twin flame journey, then moving towards like experiencing my vitality more fully, and like start to create vitality in my life, right? That vitality to me is always also connected to joy, like to enjoying like the functioning of my body, like breathing, those really simple vital things, to enjoy like moving, to enjoy like eating, to enjoy drinking, and all of those things. And here you already might experience certain blockages, right? For me, for example, it's that I sometimes hesitate to drink. And that is an energetic reason that I have to work on, right? But that has nothing to do with those childhood, with the childhood experience that I wanted to point out to you today. It's more about this shock, right? And the shock, as you can imagine, keeps creating like very harsh circumstances in my life, and I had to look at those feelings, right? So Spirit wanted me to show you some cards around this, and we have adversity. I accept that challenges are the best way to learn, and this for sure has been a challenge, right? And it's sometimes it can be very painful, it can be very uncomfortable to have a look at those things again, not because it's so uncomfortable to know that we have been rejected in the womb, but because it's so uncomfortable and really threatening to experience those shock moments in our lives, right? Like it was for me, for example. It's an example, right? And you can adjust for whatever it is that it is maybe for you and in your life. And maybe also, like for me, those shock moments or those threats of being shocked, they were created not by my twin flame, also by my twin flame, but by other players, really. So it doesn't have to be your twin flame. Sometimes when it comes down to those very harsh things, then the twin flame steps back and waits until those things have been cleared. Yeah. That's very often the reason why the twin is not showing up, because they step back and wait. It happens subconsciously, right? Of course, they don't, for the most part, not know this, but it would not feel right to be with you, right? Something would be off. Yeah, and so we're talking about something that you need to do in order to prepare for your journey, right? And here Spirit has given us this card as well, which is saying courage. I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. Yeah, and when you think of something harsh like a shock, maybe you have experienced that as well. Maybe you've been rejected as well. Maybe, there were maybe other really uncomfortable and threatening emotions when you were in your mother's womb. Maybe your mother tried to abort you or something like that. So there is a variety of things that could happen to us at that stage, and our body would remember. So when those things show up again, it's life-threatening for us, right? It's being rejected at a level where it all boils down to life or death, really. And so we can experience certain things as, for example, as really threatening, where other people would say, well, but it's not a big deal, don't worry about it. But we would experience it exactly in that flavor of what we have experienced in the womb, and the whole circumstance or this whole situation that is showing up in our life then later, where things get triggered, where exactly those emotions get triggered. Those are ways in which the universe tries to communicate with us, right? So we have this card here. It says, my inner being guides me through my emotions. And that's true, but it can be very uncomfortable, right? And we need a lot of courage to follow this path and say, okay, I choose to look at all this stuff. I choose to face that. I choose to own that. And I choose to clear that and to transform that once and for all, right? But first, of course, you have to look at it and you have to accept and to own your stuff, right? This is why the twin flame journey is like, it's your healing journey, right? Because you cannot avoid doing that. Just can't. And the same for your divine counterpart. And your divine counterpart is you, right? If you choose to do the healing work, then your divine counterpart will find a way to do healing work as well. Don't worry about that, right? Yeah, and I've been talking about two pillars. Spirit gave us this card as well, this beautiful pond that is functioning like a mirror here. The law of attraction brings whatever abundance I choose. So there's choice there, right? So we have the emotions, where the universe is communicating to us, you're on track, this feels good, so do more of what feels good. This feels bad, there is an issue, you have to face that, you have to own that, you have to clear and transform, right? So the universe is always communicating to us, wants to lead us to this warm and comfortable place, to this peaceful home over here. You see, where with the red house that's full of passion, full of warmth, full of togetherness, security, abundance, with all the land around. Yeah, but it's like the universe, through our emotions, says, oh, cold, 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 warm, 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 yeah, you're back on track, right? So we have to learn to interpret this in the right way. And when we do this, then suddenly we find out that everything that we experience is meant for us, really, because the universe is communicating. So even if it's something that doesn't feel good, it's the universe trying to tell us something, right? And we can resolve it. Yeah, so this is the shadow work, right? This is one pillar, and then there is another pillar, and this is like choosing what you want to experience, right? So that's also important. The shadow work is like old stuff coming up to the surface, and this stuff wants to be looked at and transformed. Nothing else, right? It doesn't want to stay in your life. But then you get to choose, what do you want to experience? And you have chosen your twin flame relationship, right? Your twin flame union. And there are other things, of course, that you can choose, right? You could, for example, that's I think a very beautiful way of choosing. I want to give you two things here. One is you could say to the divine, I want to experience you in a healthy body, for example. Or it could be even simpler. It could be, I want to experience you in a beautiful weekend where I enjoy the company of friends and good food. Or you could say, so you could choose to experience the divine in some way, right? I want to experience you, God or divine or universe, in a beautiful home, right? Or a nice and cozy evening at home, whatever it is, right? Or you can very simply say, I'm in love with food. This is, for example, something that can, in an instant, change your whole relationship with food, right? It brings tasty food, brings healthy food, brings a variety of foods that go together well, even brings people to your table that you're like enjoying the food with. So this already a simple statement, and it's like attracting a whole lot of things to you, right? So I emphasize this because it's really important to choose what you want to experience. And if you don't know, then stay a little bit general with this, right? Just say, I want to experience, today I want to experience a day that really feels good. And then see what is coming, right? Yeah, so there are many ways, but I just wanted to give you something that you can experiment with. And of course, you maybe have other things that work for you. So I would be curious to know about those, or encourage you to use those things that you have maybe learned in other places. Good, that's all for today. And I see you in the next video. Bye for now. And don't forget, if you haven't already, sign up for the free webinar below. Then you can start to do healing work and transformational work right away. It's just dedicated to clearing the energies for you and your twin flame, and for your loved ones, family, even your home. To just clear the air and to give you a clean slate every day. It works like removing dust from furniture, right? It's just an energetically hygiene. And if you want to know more about my services, then please send me an email. I'm also offering 15 minutes free spots if you want to get in touch and maybe have some questions and want to find out whether it would be a fit for you to work with me, then please feel free to apply for those free spots via email as well. Okay, bye for now, everyone. Bye.